Welcome to the Local Farmer Podcast, where we invite you to join us on our farming journey. Whether you're a seasoned farmer or you're just getting started, we are here to learn and grow together. Our goal is to help encourage, inspire, and equip the local farmer. So let's grab our boots and let's dig in. I'm excited because this is our first episode. I'm Brandon.
I'm John.
And we will be your hosts on the Local Farmer Podcast. Before we dive into this episode, John, we want to make sure that we let you guys know, hey, like, subscribe, share, post, all of those things. That just helps us out further down the line. But this is our first episode. John, are you excited?
I am excited.
We're going to dive into a lot of different things, but really on this first one, we wanted to talk, who are we? Who are we, and what our backgrounds are? What do we bring to the table? And hey, where are we at right now with our farm? And where do we plan on going in the future? Those are the main topics we wanted to talk about just in this first episode, because John and I just started a farm. Didn't we, John?
Absolutely. It's looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a new adventure. But John, let's dive right in. Who is John?
Well, I'm John, born and raised East Tennessee. I'd call it first generation farmer. Always wanted to. Didn't have one of my grandfathers was. We're actually going to farm on his property. Kind of cool.
Yeah, we'll unpack that later about the history of the farm in which we're doing, because that's pretty cool history as well.
It is. We'll talk about that in another episode.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any he passed away the year before I was born, actually. So I don't know, maybe that's who I got it from. Nobody else in my family's done that. But I always had a drive and a desire to do that. And finally we've done that here at my place on a small parcel.
Yeah, so you are farming right now at your house. What animals do you have on your farm?
A little bit of everything. Whatever my wife and daughter drag home.
Yeah. So you have some horses, you have some cows, you have some sheep, you have some goats, you have some rabbits, you have currently pigs. I mean, you've got a plethora of things, right?
Well, those are our pigs.
Those are our pigs, and we'll talk about that in a second. But those are currently here. But yeah, so you would say that you first generation farmer. Is that something you've always wanted to get into and do?
Yeah, we have. We bought this property in 2016. We knew we wanted acreage, so we didn't intend to build, but we built. And it was something me and my wife always wanted to do. So we got this and didn't know what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
We've been here since then. We actually got 2 horses. That's another story. It's pretty funny. But we got those before we had fence or a house.
Oh, wow.
So we've been dealing with that. And this property will predominantly go to horses.
Yeah.
And we'll move other livestock on the property we're going to farm together.
So what you've wanted to do is probably a little bit more extreme than what you have property for, like dream-wise of where you want to go as a farmer. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Right now we have too many animals, not enough grass situation. So,
yeah.
But the weather hasn't been cooperative the last little while. Hay shortage and grass shortage. So we're working through that. So that's part of what got me and you together too, I think. We got to talking about that a lot at church, actually.
Yeah, that's right. And that's where we met, was at church, and started the process of where we are today.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit about myself. Thank you, John, for asking.
Yeah. What about you, Brandon?
Beautiful. Thank you. I didn't grow up at all like really looking at wanting to do anything with farming, with animals at all. Growing up single mom, didn't really have that upbringing about kind of getting your hands dirty. I mean, that really wasn't anything that was instilled in me. And so my wife and I, we live on about 3 acres, nothing big, and got some chickens
Yeah.
not too long ago, and probably about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and started that. And of course, everyone knows that chickens are the gateway drug. And that's where kind of this idea of, hey, we might want to do a farm. We might want to do something different. We don't have the acreage,
Right.
but we want to potentially grow our own food source. My wife is very much a healthy eater. Hey, we want to eat more organic stuff in our house, and we got a cow not too long ago, and fell in love with the idea of, man, this is so much better for you.
Absolutely.
This tastes a lot different than what's in the grocery store. And so we started talking about it. Hey, we would love to potentially have some animals. We don't have the acreage. And there was another guy that I started having some conversations with. And that just didn't work out. However, in the midst of having those conversations with that individual, I called you. And we started talking about there's a rabbit in the background, and it really wants some food, John.
Yeah, well, it's got babies in there, so we brought it inside. That unintentional.
I'm watching it flip this. If you could see what I see, it just flipped its food or water over, and now has nothing. So
Yeah, that's his problem.
that's what. Yeah, that is his problem.
We'll get him fixed up here in a minute. We should do a show one time and just show all the animals.
Show animals. I like that idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, you and I, we talked on the phone, and you had mentioned, hey, I've wanted to potentially further my operation and enlarging it, but I didn't want to do that by myself, right?
That's correct. We have 12 and a half acres here.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughters and my wife, we all work it. And sometimes it still feels like we don't have enough hands.
Yeah.
Or there's not enough of it. Or another problem you run into with the family that does it is you have to go out of town, or you have a event to be to, but you need to be here for the animals. This is a different lifestyle than being able to drop everything, lock your doors, and run out of town for the weekend. So
Yeah.
it's a little commitment to have all the animals, but I'd say in the long term, it's well worth it. So we come together, and we're talking about that. Like, hey, you want to do it? And I'm like, hey, I want to do this too, but I need somebody to help me.
Yeah.
Because I can't be there, especially if it's a property that I don't live on.
Yeah.
It's even more hard to get over there and make sure those animals are cared for and
Yeah.
everything's good to go.
So we had this conversation about wanting to do a farm actually, at that point, it really was, hey, you would be interested in it. And then you mentioned some property that your family had that potentially we can lease.
Mm-hmm.
And radio silence for about, 4-5 months, would you say?
Yeah, it was a little uphill battle.
Yeah.
Not really a battle. I mean, it was just the property had laid dormant.
Uh-huh.
There's other cousins involved. I mean, it's just a whole thing. But, when you lease a property, whether it's a family member or somebody else, that's a good way to do your operation without having to buy property.
Yeah.
And then you're, losing money for a long time because property's so high now.
Yeah.
But if you can convince or show that property owner how you being on that property is better management than it just sitting there.
Yeah.
And that's what we had to do.
Yeah. And you eventually had a conversation with that family member about that property, and then the conversation started back up about, hey, how serious are we about this?
Yeah.
And boom, here we are today.
Here we are.
And we have the property. We have barely been working the property, but we're getting it ready. So here's the question. well, I'll even go back to this and finish the other thought is I don't have a farming background at all and currently only have chickens on my property.
Right.
You have a farming background in the sense of you do have a farm with animals on it as of right now, first generation farmer,
Yeah.
but you have a little bit of a background coming into it. So you have me, no background, but willing to learn. You more as a teacher, as someone that you're wanting to learn, but you're currently doing it.
Yeah, and I've still got a lot to learn.
Absolutely.
I mean, we all do. I think if you're a third generation farmer and you say, I know it all, my grandfather knew it all, and they taught me, you're lying to yourself. So we all can learn something.
Yeah.
And we bring something different to the table as well. Like, being that I have some equipment already. And I didn't mention that I grew up in the automotive industry.
Mm-hmm.
So fixing things like that, you're going to need to do on a farm, tractors. I've got a lot of that. And we wouldn't be here today doing a podcast if it weren't for you, because that's what I don't know what to do there. So
yeah,
it works good.
And the big thing about this podcast, we didn't say this at the beginning. I mean, we kind of did, but we want to learn.
Yeah.
We want to learn. And out through kind of a documentary type of thing, more or less recording the beginning of starting this. And it's really cool that we wanted to start this at the very beginning of all of this. That way we can look back in a couple of years and say, wow, look at where we started. Look at, look at how naive we were, or even like, hey, what we didn't know and now what we know now. Look at the big difference there. So that's one big reason of starting this journey. But it's also an educational journey for us of bringing people alongside of us of, hey, what are you doing? What are you learning? And how can we learn from that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So two guys that one has a little bit of a background, one that has none at all. I will say this, John, it is very weird, and maybe people listening to this or watching this might disagree with me, but I'm a farmer.
You're a farmer.
I'm a farmer.
Yeah.
And it's weird saying that, right? Like, it's like, well, you don't have anything necessarily that you're farming right now, but I'm a farmer. Yeah. I think anytime you get in a professional field of something, like you get paid for an acting job or something, it's weird that first time saying, I'm a professional actor.
Right.
I'm a professional whatever. It's weird. So it is weird saying that, but hey, I'm just going to embrace it and say, hey, I'm a farmer. And we're going to do this. So, so we have two different backgrounds coming into this. So here's a question for you. What do we have on our farm right now? What is on our farm, John? Nothing. Nothing. And that's
I'm looking at you like.
Yeah. Are you hunting? Are you hunting for something right now? We don't have anything on our farm right now.
Yeah, and we have some challenges.
Yeah.
The property, just a little background on that property.
Yeah.
It's got some advantages and disadvantages. One of the advantages is it's not wooded.
Yeah.
It's all field. But the disadvantages, we got a lot of work to do with that field because they've cut hay off of it and not put anything back into that property for 20 years.
Yeah.
Guys just cutting the hay off of it to cut it off of it. So we're having to educate ourselves there as well. And I think that's one of the conversations that got me and you involved together as well. Like, because we were talking at church and you were talking about, like you mentioned before, about the, organic, non-GMO. And I was like, yeah, I don't know why every time I bought my own cow because I got tired of buying a cow from a farmer. And he's like, okay, you want to buy it? Okay, well, I need to put it up for 2 weeks or whatever and grain it. And I'm like, why are we doing that? So, and a lot of farmers do it, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's grain finished.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder, why are we doing that? Why can't we just pull it off the field? So we've done that with some cows here on this property.
Well, here's the other thing. I'm a customer as well.
You are a customer.
I'm a customer 2 times over now. So it's not just we're partners, but I'm also a customer of your product. Excited to taste the grass-fed. Nothing put inside of it other than grass. I mean,
that's right here.
Yeah. So that's exciting, right? Like being able to do that.
Yeah, I love it. Like once you've gone that route, you don't want to go back.
Yeah.
So.
And that was our conversation. Was it really was? I would say a God thing. To be honest with you, absolutely. Of us getting together in the time that we got together, from the conversations that we had, where I was kind of nervous of saying, hey, this is actually what I want to achieve when it comes to organic, grass-fed, pasture-raised, like all of these things. I was scared to kind of bring that a little to the table because I knew that you already had animals on your farm, and you might have one way of doing it versus how I want to go about doing it. But it lined up perfectly of what your goals are
Well,
for
and
the
probably
future.
not having that background helped me because I don't know how they used to do it.
Yeah,
I mean, so yeah, and then some of those ways I question. If I was brought up and my father did it a certain way and his father did it a certain way, then I would probably just do it that way because that's the way we've done it. Um, Another thing that got me involved in the talking to you
yeah,
about non-GMO grass fed is, and a lot of this that spiraled into soil maintenance, rotational grazing,
hmm
regenerative farming, and a lot of that got me because getting angry at the hay people.
yeah, yeah. No,
So
I haven't experienced that, but I mean, like I could see how relying on other people.
yeah, well, you've come to me one
Yeah,
Sunday at church and you're like, "How's everything going?" And I'm like, "I'm angry,"
yeah, yeah. I
and
do
you're like,
remember that.
"What's going on?" And I was like, "Nobody's got hay. They charge too much for it." So, and not to put down the hay guys,
No,
they're doing their thing. They have to, but um, it's more my fault with my animals and having too many head on too small acreage. So we're working through that,
yeah,
and we're going to try to do it right this time. Maybe we're not going to get it all right, but we bring these guys on the journey with us,
absolutely.
and maybe some of them could come on the show or comment and
Yeah,
help us out.
I think that's the thing. Like we're both going down a path where I want to do something, you want to do something that necessarily you haven't fully been able to achieve,
Right.
and we're gonna fail together. We're going to learn and be successful together. But I think I think that's one of the things that I really want to do with the farm, and I believe you as well, is the idea that you yourself, your hands, helped produce something. There is something about doing something and seeing the results of that, and I think that's what I would dare say a lot of farmers would say that's why they love it, is because kind of the stepping back and saying, look what I did. Look at the challenges that I had to face, the weather, the the hardships that come with having a farm. Look what I was able to achieve. And for you and I know, speaking for both of us, the things that we want to achieve of creating a premium product is the driving force for me of
Yeah.
knowing, hey, for my family, I want to provide a premium product for, but all of our friends, our neighbors, our family, that we get to be able to do that for as well as part of our future plans. I think that is a driving factor for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm in agreement with that totally.
yeah,
And I'm always been doing something different.
hmm
Um, from the house I built
yeah.
is totally different than even.
Barn dominium. Yeah,
Well, that's a big Texas thing, but here in East Tennessee, when we built in 16, that the codes guy, he
yeah,
was like, I don't know if you could build a house in a metal building. I'm like, why not?
yeah,
So we had to go through that whole process. Now it's some other people are doing it, but just that I'm always looking, how can I do something and do it better?
yeah,
Not that I'm better, but always looking for a different option.
yeah. That's awesome. So where we are today, like I said, as of right now, nothing on the property,
Nothing.
and we've been working it. This is not our full time job. This is not something that we said, hey, we're going to quit everything or going all in this project. I'm in ministry. You own your own company, and so we are definitely taking our time when it comes to doing this. We have goals.
Yep.
We have things that we want to achieve, but uh, as you know, if it's not your profession, it's not something that you are being able to give that much time to. So we are having to take our time. We have it. That doesn't mean that we don't have goals and we're just like sitting around going, oh, okay, well, if we don't get that done. No, we've got goals set.
Yeah.
And so as of right now, nothing on the property.
Nothing on the property. Working on the grass,
That's right.
and we're working on fence. The pigs will be
Yep.
the first thing to go.
Yeah. So about the pigs,
That's your favorite.
that's my favorite thing right now, and here's why. Because John and I, one thing that we decided to do was no reason for us to spend all of our time learning the exact same thing. So we wanted to separate the idea of I would own the pig operation, which honestly, starting this, I did not have in mind of us wanting to do pigs.
No, that just kind of came naturally.
That
Or,
came,
the Lord laid that in. Like, hey, if He wants us to do it, we'll do it.
yeah, and through some YouTube videos
Yeah.
and podcasts and stuff like that, really went down the avenue of this is something that I didn't think of. However, I'd love to know more of, and kind of going down the path of listening to others that have done it. I actually got real excited about it, and so my focus has been pigs. Yours has been cattle. Of looking at how we're going to create not just a premium product, but how do we use the property that we have to gain the most product that we can with cattle.
Well, I think there's a couple of objectives that we have, and we've discussed these, but I'll bring them up again. Is we're premium product,
Mm-hmm.
clean,
That's right.
clean beef and pork, and how do we do that the cheapest, most efficient way? We make a little money on it. That's the same. If we can, that's great. If not, we enjoy the process of it. We'll see that where that goes.
Yeah.
But and taking care of the land, that's one of the things with this property is putting back into it, and really getting the animals on the property is going to help a lot, just because they're manure and urine, and they're breaking up the soil. That's what this property hadn't had in
Yeah.
years. So that's one of our challenges right off the bat is how do we do that organically without putting the animals on there because they don't have food, because there's a lot of broom sage and stuff like this in this field. We need to figure out how we're going to do that. So,
And just like every farmer, how do you not break the bank doing it, at the beginning? Because, it costs money to make money.
yeah,
And I think just having that focus up front of saying, we're doing this for our family,
Mhm.
and then other families that'll benefit as well. And that's kind of a good driving force.
yeah, I don't think we ever see it as being like huge
No.
operation. This is an operation of love and being animal husbandry as far
Yeah.
as taking care of these animals. I probably wouldn't like that. I probably wouldn't have been like this 10 or 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of compassion for the animals like I do now. I think that's something as I've grown in my relationship with the Lord, has given me that.
Yeah.
My girls accuse me a lot of being, no compassion, but
Mhm.
just last week when I hauled those cows off from this property, by the way, we got rid of all the cows because we're starting to scratch on that
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And
You wanted to you didn't want to bring anything over other than potentially horses, but you didn't want to bring anything over. You wanted everything to kind of be a partnership.
Yep,
And
a
so,
fresh start, clean slate.
and timing allowed that.
Yeah, it worked out perfect.
It did.
Timing, God's timing is always
Absolutely.
perfect. But it, you know, I cared how I loaded them in the trailer. I mean, everything from taking care of these animals from when they were calves. Two of them were actually bottle fed,
Yeah.
and then all the way to the processor. It was pretty cool because before, get in there, get out, whatever, and I tried to get them in there. I noticed myself driving super slow and
Yeah.
more so than I would before, and so I was like, wow, Lord, thanks, you're working on me. It's a good quality. It's something
Yeah.
I've battled with, as far as realizing that. But one of them, the one I wanted to go there the most, it was the half bull.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to share the story. I was like, I don't know if you want to or not, but you're talking about compassion. This is part of caring for animals.
No, and I'd bring it up because of that. Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, this half bull, and he was half bull because we missed one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Anyway, he had to go. He liked to play,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't like to play with him. Anyway, he's going, and he's on the scale, and I'm talking to the lady, and I've got my arms up on the panel, and he turns and puts his nose on my forearm, and he was blind in one eye as well, and that eye always watered. But
Yeah.
it was one of those things where he was like, "Don't, please don't,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Quit looking at me."
Yeah.
So I said too, I said we can't keep him for 4 years anymore. That's too long.
Yeah. And I think, you said, something that the Lord's been working on you is compassion. And I think that when you have a love for something, or you are dedicated to something and have a passion for it, that's going to ooze out with the compassionate side of that, of taking care of something.
Absolutely.
And that has a lot to do with how you're raised, and being somebody that you take care of what's yours. And I've seen that already within you. But going back to where we at today, so we have property that we have a lease on. We don't have a barn. We haven't talked about that yet, but we don't necessarily have a barn, but we do have a dry area of a carport of a house that it's just that house is gone, basically. And so we do have a dry area to work with, and then maybe in the future potentially add on to that. But really working the property right now, getting the grass. You recently took some readings
Yeah,
to
we got
figure
some
out.
soil samples.
That's right.
UT Ag Extension just got those back to me yesterday.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to work on that. Hopefully this week we'll
Yeah.
know what we need to, how we need to go about restoring the soil.
Yeah.
We noticed too. I actually lived on that property a little while right out of high school 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So actually 25, I guess.
Wow.
But when me and you walked the property, I said I don't remember all the standing water on this property. And there's a low part down
Yeah.
by the creek, and it's always been marshy or whatever. But I mean, we're talking about up on top. And it was like, there's standing water and it rained in 3 days. I mean, what is this water standing here? So, and that's something I didn't know about either. I'm like, did I just not remember it
Yeah.
or what? And just in the past few weeks, I've learned, okay, when you take the nutrients out of the soil, it won't absorb as much water. So it needs nutrients back in it. Once it does, it'll start to absorb. Because it was weird, because it was like there's just wet spots in random places that aren't
Yeah.
low. They're not a puddle. They're not anything. So anyway, we got to work on that, and that's probably our first. Our first step will be to move those pigs from here to there. We got some fence going up. I think we're doing that Friday. And,
Yeah. Well, hey. So speaking of pigs, so once again, it's kind of a thing I enjoy. But so we don't have anything on the property right now. Really, just trying to make sure that we've got the readings that are healthy. What do we need to do? What do we need to add to the property when it comes to grass and all that stuff? But so I'm a goals guy. I like goals. I like to achieve goals and things like that. And sometimes, in order to achieve goals, you have to do things that put pressure on you. And that being said, we're
going to challenge me here.
Yeah, so we're working the property, and I happened to come across. I was like, hey, I'm going to reach out to a couple people about some pigs, because timing is everything, and just making sure when it comes to having piglets and all that. And I reached out, and so happened to be some Yorkshires were just born, and we're ready to pick up basically in 2 weeks from the moment that I had texted you, and we weren't ready for them. But at your farm, we were able to keep them for a couple of weeks, and then the goal, obviously, this week, potentially next week, get them out there. But that sped up a little bit of our thought process of, making things real, I think.
Yeah. Well, it was step in with both feet all of a sudden.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did get 4 female pigs with the intention of those being breeders,
Right.
and being able to start our pig operation from that. And they're not of age yet, but excited about that, of being able to feed them organically, being able to graze them across the property too, not just keeping them in one spot, but being able to allow them to get the nutrients of the property. And really the thing I've been learning. This is something I've learned, John, and I've said this to you before. And a farmer is less about, and you could disagree with me, or people listening can disagree with me, but I think this is just educational for me. You're less about the animals and you're more about the grass and about the property. And you're more of a grass farmer than you are a livestock farmer. Like if you don't have the property and you don't have the right property to be able to have your animals on there, especially with what we're trying to do with organic and a premium product that we're trying to put out there. If you don't have the right grass or nutrients to be able to feed them correctly on your property, then it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
So would you agree with that? Or
Yeah, I mean, we could get, my mind goes into, oh, I got to get a fence up, and and then I back up, and I'm like, no, foundation first.
yeah,
And so we've got to have. I've learned that here at this property, and unfortunately, I've learned it because it hit my wallet.
yeah,
That you have a good foundation of grass, you have to feed the animal. So let's let's get the foundation in this property. Let's do it right. I mean, here I
yeah,
got, like I said, I had horses before I had a fence. So I'm temporary fencing those guys in and trying to build a house all at the same time. Unbelievable. But anyway, try to do it right over there from, the timeline, get a good foundation, get a good fence in those things. So we have, speaking of goals, we've pushed the cattle off for a while. But we can concentrate, those piglets can get over there pretty soon. And they'll help till up the ground
absolutely.
and everything else,
Yeah.
and as we rotate those around, so they're not just killing the dirt, we'll rotate those around and they're healthy for it.
Yeah.
So that's going to help jumpstart that area.
Yeah. So nothing on property. Soon to be
Soon to be.
for females.
Yep.
For gilts.
Is that what you call them?
Yeah, gilts. A little terminology, pig terminology for you.
You'll have to keep me
Educate you on that.
educate me on the pig.
And we'll talk about this later in another episode. But even hunting down the right feed for the animals, for us, we're just doing cattle and we're doing pigs, but that was a challenge of even to a point where I'm looking at my wife going,
Yeah, you're going to make your own for a minute.
Yeah, and that's tough too. So if you're able to do that, then great. But like we were looking into it, just the financial cost, and once again, it costs money to make money. But for us, we got to a point where we're like, hey, then maybe this organic thing is a goal. Then, not what we're achieving. It becomes a goal.
Yeah,
and kind of like just a last ditch effort. I have a lady that I'm friends with from church many years, and knew she did pigs, and I just kind of messaged her, and she was able to lead me in a great direction financially. And like I said, we'll talk more about that, but that's a whole nother avenue of what we're trying to do. Is it's not like the food is out there in the grass every time. We have to figure out like these challenges of, hey, is this a reality or is this a goal?
yeah.
And I think that everyone's going to face that as we come along. Just a reminder, this is brand new. Like we don't have anything out there yet. So everything that we're talking about is us having conversation about, hey, like even some of the stuff we talked about right now, we haven't talked about in a long time. So it's great to be able to know we have a resource now with this podcast to be able to go back many years from now and go, wow, look at us, from even, maybe those times that we need a reminder of why we started and how we started.
Well, I mean, it could even open a door for somebody, that right person to call us or come in on the show and say, hey, and we learn. When we learn, we're going to learn.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times the teacher learns just as much as the student.
Yeah.
So that's what we're looking for. Also, like Brandon said, to review back and be like, wow, we were talking about that, and we've been doing that for years now. It's so, and it was a dream back then, and here we're doing it. So, it just kind of, even like taking pictures.
Yeah.
You run your drone around that property too. I mean, so just
Before and afters.
Before and afters. Same with the podcast. I find podcasts so helpful. Learn a lot on them.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, maybe I could pass that on.
Yeah.
Uh,
I see you as a teacher.
Mhm.
I see me as a student. You're going to learn very, very fast. I don't know much, but I do like to learn, especially when it comes to farming. So I don't know much about that. So you are out operating as a teacher for me in a lot of different aspects. But the challenges that we're facing as we move forward, just simple as something as talking about the feed. But the challenges we face, hopefully, will create a byproduct to someone else going, oh, I'm facing that right now. And they just help me with a solution of us trying to figure out, like the people that we're going to have on the shows are going to be people that we want to learn from that are currently doing it.
Right.
And that this whole thing is a learning experience.
Well, you said I'm teaching you, but this is a 50-50. You're teaching
Oh.
me like today. I'm like, what is this? What is that? And you're like, oh, you did this. So, this whole thing's because of you, and so also the organic side of it. I don't know anything about that, but I want to know.
Yeah.
My wife's done a lot of research on that for some different health concerns, to try to be organic and put cleaner things in her body as we get older and face challenges, and actually seen some reversal on some of the issues that we've had just because eating cleaner. So that was the thing, but you're knowledgeable about that and you're researching that. And so it's a great partnership. It's really weird. If we didn't go to church, we'd probably see each other on the street and never spoken.
100%.
I mean, not to say anything about you or anything about me.
Yeah.
But I mean, we don't dress the same.
No.
We don't, we come from different backgrounds.
I wore this shirt just to look like I normally am wearing tight pants and tight shirt. If you're not watching it and you're listening to it, I'm making myself sound weird. I'm not weird, but I don't dress country, one would say.
Right.
I don't look the part. I don't wear the cowboy hat or anything. And I'm not saying that makes you, a farmer or anything like that.
No, I don't wear a cowboy hat either. But I think we were.
I'm wearing tennis shoes. You're wearing boots. There we go.
There you go.
That helps you understand a little bit of the context.
I've been called the church bully before, and I used to bully you about your attire and be like, "Can I just dress you one?"
You did. And the funny thing is like I want to be around you, and I want to learn. And I think that in any partnership, doesn't matter if you're talking about a farm, doesn't matter if you're partners in a business of any other area. As long as you're bringing something different to the table, it's just like your wife, my wife. They're very different than who we are, and they bring something healthy to the relationship. This isn't a relationship podcast, but at the end of the day, we are partners. We're going to bring something different to the table.
I think that's what makes it. That's what makes That's another reason I guess we want to do the podcast too, because it's a unique relationship. But it's really good. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, and our wives, maybe we can get them on here sometime, because your wife was out. You asked me if I could plow a garden.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where do you want to put it? And it's in the front yard, like your whole front yard.
Oh, you drove by my house?
No, but I mean, when I went and
that's right. You
plowed
plowed my house. Yeah, that's right.
I was like, really? You want to put it? Okay. I'm fine with that. But I drove by there the other day, and you were texting me.
Yeah.
And then I drove by there, and your wife and kids were out in the garden. I don't know where you were. You weren't working it.
Yeah.
Is she the green thumb?
You know what? And she is the green thumb. That is the funny part about, I think, this is, and I'm going to be honest with you, and you can add to this too. Doing this, having these conversations, because I text you every day, and I see you, all the time, have actually brought my wife and I closer together just through the conversations of the common interests. Like, she loves having a green thumb. Like, she's really excited about the garden this year and just putting a little bit more into that. But like, she found her place as saying, hey, I could grow corn. Like, I can grow something on the property to help be a part. And I think anytime that you find that of, hey, how can you find your spot? That's important. And because if I was sitting here today, that just felt like, oh, I'm just your farmhand.
Right.
I'm just, you tell me what to do. But I've got ownership when it comes to, the pig side and all that. Like, there's ownership that you've allowed that to happen to free you up to think about the other things. And I know your wife as well, like just talking with her about how excited she is about getting started with certain things.
She's excited to get rid of the cows off this property. I
Yeah.
think. She's not a cow person.
Okay.
She can grow grass though.
Yeah, you
Like,
did tell me she's the grass lady.
She is the grass lady.
Okay.
And so she's actually been giving part of her yard up to the horses this year.
Yeah.
It's like had them roped off in her front yard. They
Yeah.
really like her grass the most.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think me and my daughter got in a little trouble for that one, but
Okay.
we had to move it down a little further.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that what you just said with the kids out in the yard and the wife in the garden, like there is a place for everyone when it comes to our family's a part of this. Because if not, it's just us. Like when we have to go out to the property because the cows got out or whatever, like it's a harder sell when you get home.
Yeah.
And your wife's like, how long are you going to keep doing this?
Right.
So I think, as long as your spouse, your significant other is involved in that and finds a place, even with a partner, like you have some type of ownership, I think you're going to have that success. That doesn't mean that you're never going to be like, well, that means I'll never quit. Like, for instance, you text me the other day and you said, man, I just felt like we didn't get anything done. And you had this attitude of just frustration because there's things that you wanted to get done that you didn't get done that day.
Yeah.
And the reality was we did get stuff done. It's just your perspective of what we got done was not what you thought it would be. But we did achieve a lot of stuff that day, and I had to remind you what it was.
And I appreciate that because I'm one of those guys that make a list, and if I do something extra that wasn't on my list, I write it on my list just so I can cross it out.
Yeah.
I'm one of those. I know it's weird. But.
Yeah. No, but I say that to say, even for me pouring into you in that moment, like it reminds me of like, hey, am I just saying words to him right now, or am I saying something that I'm modeling, that people are looking at me going, oh wow, okay, yeah, I could see that. That makes total sense. So you know who we are, a little bit of our background. You know where our farm is today with what we're trying to have out there this coming weeks with the pigs being out on the property. Where do we look at going to the future? Like what are our plans? Because you and I talk about, originally we want to put a premium product in the fridge and freezer for our families. And then the conversation switched to there could be a little bit more with the size of property that we have, which we haven't even talked about, the size. So how much property are we working with?
That's 35 acres.
You say 35. I say 40. And the reason... the reason why I bring that up is because if anyone has watches this and talks to me like, he said 35 and you said 40, because I looked on a website that said it was 40 acres, and so I went by that. But yeah, so
I think somewhere it shows 38.9 or something like that.
So you're rounding down, I'm rounding up.
Well, and usable acres is probably less than that, but there's quite a bit. I mean, like we're gonna have to cut back, like bush hog back what's grown in.
Yeah.
Because the hay guy that was coming over there, I don't think it was his premium hay, so he just kind of cut it because he said he'd cut it. And so it's grown in every year. The field got smaller and smaller, but I think we got a good 25 acres, but to work with today.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can expand that out because I mean mostly it was field. We have a creek on the property. Mm-hmm. It goes around two sides actually.
Got a pond.
We do have water ran back to the old homestead. So I think we're going to work off that, get some water, some city water. So we've got constant water. So there's a lot of things going for it. Comes with a tractor too, right? But I've got to get it working.
You mean it came with burden?
It's the right color though.
You know what? Should we name the tractor Burden? Because I feel like it runs backwards.
Yeah.
it doesn't run forwards. Like
backwards, reverse. If anybody knows why John Deere 2150 will go backwards all day long, operate off the clutch and everything, but I go to forward and it will not go, then let me know.
Put it in the comments. Let us know because this is a head scratcher.
Yeah.
I've got a picture, actually a video, I think, too, of me driving the tractor, one tractor forward and you having to drive it backwards so we can get it out where it was. because it doesn't go, but it does come with a tractor. So that's a
Yeah,
that's a
that's a
positive
plus.
thing. We'll get it working at some point. But there are some really great things that this property comes with, allowing us to be able to look towards the future of what we want to do.
Yeah.
When it comes to the size of the operation that we would like
We've
to
got
do.
a lot of big ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, realistic goals. I don't know that we've ever like put them down, but I think, to raise premium product.
Yeah.
That's organic and clean, and different. So that's another podcast, but we'll talk about
what we
or breeds of animals, stuff
different
like
breeds.
that. But we can go into that on another.
I'd love to talk more extensively about that
Yeah.
instead of just brushing by that real quick, but extensively because
You'll have to tune in next time.
because we may figure out like there's a reason in this community or this area that people aren't doing this.
But I'm trying to find a different
avenue. Exactly. It's like trying to figure out a different market of like what can we do. And to be honest, as long as we keep, this is just my thought, as long as we keep the idea of we want to create a premium product for our friends, our family, and neighbors. I mean, that's the biggest thing. How much of it is dictated on a lot of other things in the future.
Yeah, we don't have to be, and anybody that farms, whether it's 35 or 12 or 3, I mean, get out and do it.
Yeah.
I mean, just do it and if you want a clean product, that's one thing. You can decide, you could get, Angus and decide you didn't like that or whatever you're raising, you get that species and you could change those up anytime. But if you have your foundation set and you have your, you want to be organic, we want to be organic. We know that. We want to do a premium product. We want to sell to friends, family, church members, community, whatever. However that expands into, that's great. But we still have our base.
Yeah.
We know we want it to be organic, clean, grass-fed, grass-finished. So we got to work on grass. We got to take care of animals. Got to get water in there. It's going to be a great journey.
Yeah, I'm excited about really. I'm excited about the future, but I'm excited about the now. Like I'm eager. Like when I get excited about something, I just want to do it, and I will make excuses for myself real quick. Of I'm just not smart enough. I'm not smart enough to talk about farming on a podcast. Like I'm not smart enough to go out there and am I doing this right or whatever. And I'll start trying to play. I'll let the mind monsters get a hold of me, to be honest with you. And just God will real quick say, hey, why are you doing this? Like I've opened a door. Why are you questioning the door? Why are you looking around going, well, the frame wasn't this? Why are you questioning? The door's open. Yeah, and a lot of that has to go back to having faith and God opening up the doors. I had the opportunity. You were quite late one day, and I think maybe I was early. That's the problem.
You're always early.
And I walked the property for about an hour early. AKA, maybe I was 30 minutes early and you were 30 minutes late.
That's probably what happened.
But I walked the property just praying over it.
Yeah.
Like asking God to really, make his will be done with what he's allowed us to be able to be a part of, but also, hey, God, teach me, show me, grow me in this journey that you and I get to be part of. And God is a big part of what we're getting to be a part of, because we wouldn't be talking, because if God wasn't part of our life, we wouldn't be a part of church, and then we wouldn't have met. But really, I had the opportunity of just praying over that property, and I know you have as well, of just giving it to God all in every aspect. There's going to be trials. There's going to be moments that we want to quit, but knowing that I have a partner like you that will help motivate me in areas, and the same vice versa for you, will allow us to be able to achieve what we are setting out to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're excited about future podcasts coming up of different people we'll have on, different topics, all the way from what livestock we're wanting to put out there, what type of organic feed have we found, and is it working, all those things. But what's so great about this is we're capturing this in the moment of just getting started. Because in a season where homesteading, farming, gardening, a lot of this is a hot topic because of, we're not going to get into government, but a lot of it has to go with, hey, instead of relying on someone else to provide something for me, I'm going to provide it for my family. And that's encouraging. But those are hot topics right now of just the homesteading side, the gardening side, the organic side. These are all buzzwords. But we're excited.
Yeah, I'm fired up.
Yeah, we're excited to bring you along, to grow with us, to learn with us. But yeah, thank you so much for listening for our first episode, and many more to come right down the pike.
Yeah, make sure to subscribe because we've got some cool people coming.
Yeah.
If I can get my
yeah.
I gotta ask you, and I think you'll come though. If I can get my hay guy to come,
Yeah.
we'll talk hay one episode.
Yeah.
He's a character. He's awesome. So
yeah, we've got some guys that have been in the industry for years of having ranches, horse ranches. We've got people that own businesses that are just really creative, and honestly, we even have some ladies that I'd love to sit down and talk to that love gardening, you know, and we can learn a lot from that.
Yeah, we're not going to specify on one breed of animal or one aspect of farming. We're kind of going to be everywhere.
Yeah.
But it'll be an interesting ride, so make sure you don't miss an episode.
Yeah, like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, all that stuff. But yeah, we're excited. Thank you so much for tuning in for our first podcast of the Local Farmer Podcast.